This is Andrew Karolyi, Professor, Cornell's University's S.C. Johnson College of Business. Very grateful to Interreg Europe for their foresight in seeing their way to funding this grant led by Professor Helena Nafa here at Corvinus University, focused on NATUREFIN, which is this whole space of biodiversity finance. It's critically important now for researchers to be tackling this question. We have a biological crisis in terms of the degradation of terrestrial land, water systems, and like the challenges with climate change, the problems are very, very complex, and they require at their core a mindset among those who will help find solutions that are interdisciplinary in scope. That means bringing together not only the science, that is the ecologists, but also the ecological economists and the business scholars trying to solve this problem. Why is it so important for business to be part of the solution? Well, because money is what can help solve. We know that there is a huge financing gap underlying this crisis. The amount of private and public monies going towards conservation are far too few to be able to arrest and slow down the biodiversity loss. And so we need to find ways to mobilize that, especially private capital. And so we need to bring financial science, management science, all to the table to be able to address the issue.
Risk management is a field where the ability to describe and quantify potential adverse outcomes and their consequences has long given us an illusion of control. However, the new challenges threatening our planet, environment, and society require us to reconsider the role of finance in contributing to solutions. What is needed is not just new methods, but a fundamentally new approach, one that supports informed decision-making at all levels: individual, corporate, regional, governmental, and intergovernmental. These challenges are not only threats. They also present opportunities to be creative and forward-looking. They call for holistic thinking, one of the core reasons we in academia are here.
When we first started thinking about the role of biodiversity in finance back in 2023, there was very little information out there, almost no dedicated literature. I remember reading one of the first academic papers that even used the term biodiversity finance. It was authored by Professor Andrew Karolyi. That paper didn't just coin the phrase of this field, but it invited all of us to imagine a different kind of finance, one that's responsive to ecological realities. Since then, something has shifted. What was once a fringe topic has started to gain momentum. Communities of practice are forming. Biodiversity is now a standing agenda item at sustainable finance conferences. And large institutional investors are beginning to ask, how does nature loss affect portfolios? And how can financial systems respond? At Corvinus University, we wanted to be part of this transformation. In our Sustainable Finance Research Center, we began working across disciplines with ecologists, economists, biologists, and data scientists to explore what biodiversity means for financial markets, from a risk perspective, from a valuations perspective, and how can this impact society and policy. We've been fortunate to receive support through several leading European research grants, including our Biosolar project, a highly competitive Biodiversa Plus project co-funded by Horizon Europe. In this project, we explore how solar farms in farmlands, often framed as sustainable, can impact biodiversity, and more importantly, how we can design energy transitions that are not only carbon neutral, but also nature positive as well. The project integrates multiple lines of research. Field scientists map areas that are biodiversity sensitive zones and use sampling and observation to measure biodiversity indicators, We hope to see results of improved biodiversity outcomes for case studies where a nature-based solution is applied and where we avoid using pesticides. We then examine socioeconomic trade-offs, driving land use decisions for renewable energy installations. We leverage outcomes to effectuate policy change at the interregional level to better serve communities and nature objectives. Most recently, we launched NATUREFIN, our first Interreg Europe project, where we partner with 6 regional public authorities across Europe, from Finland to Spain, Portugal, Greece, Hungary, and including Albania. The goal is to translate research into practice, helping regions improve their policy instruments using sustainable finance tools to support biodiversity. Our aim is to integrate biodiversity risk into financial valuation and support system-level resilience, while ensuring that local environmental and community realities guide our approach to enhancing resilience in a broader sense.
Of course, big questions that lie behind the motivations for you, Interreg Europe, for sponsoring this kind of research is ultimately its policy relevance. What we know is policy decision makers cannot manage what they cannot measure and understand. That's a foundational fact. So we need to bring to bear the very best of science to understand this gnarly, complex problem of the biodiversity crisis, for example, or the climate crisis. That will help us to understand the ecosystem. It will allow us to understand better how different agents in the ecosystem work together or don't work together. If we can understand the motives, the incentives for the asset managers, the asset owners, for example, who are the ones that steward private capital, if we can understand how they think or don't think about financing biodiversity, then we can better create, through a regulatory angle, the right policies to create the incentives for them to take those actions. That is why what you are doing is so critical.